Twins of Reddit, in what ways did you take advantage of having a twin? Twice the clothes. 2 cakes on our birthday, birthday cake, birthday cake. I'm not a twin but have identical twins. One year, one of them got tired during a shopping trip for school clothes. She said to her sister, "Try this on. I want to see how it looks on me." My twin and I used to switch classes to take exams for each other in middle and high school. It was pretty fun, but we started to differ in looks as we got older, so it probably wouldn't work anymore lol. Although, our voices still sound exactly the same, so we can often trick our parents on the phone and stuff like that. Also, not trying to say we have telepathy, but when you spend literally every waking second of your life together, we can always kind of know what each other is thinking. It's like we've developed our own language. Edit, typos. I can unlock his phone with facial recognition and send stupid messages to other people from it. Edit, we are 37. Edit 2, wow, thanks for all the awards. Who knew being a jerk to your brother could pay off? Phone was a Pixel 4, and yes, Facebook confuses the two of us when it suggests that we may be in a photo. Edit 3, for all of you who asked, no, the fingerprint scan does not work. I have a twin brother but we never did a switcheroo or anything. It's probably much more mundane than people think. To me, he's just my brother. One great thing though is I don't have to try to remember the names of random acquaintances because no one remembers which one I am. I know of a pair of twins, and when they were younger they developed their own way of speaking. Not with different words and phrases, but they meshed their words in such a way that they're difficult to understand. They have a sibling who's able to understand most of what they're saying, but is not fluent, so to speak. Around other people their words don't mesh, but around each other they revert back to their speech patterns. Downside is some people fetishize it. I had my ex-boyfriend beg for a threesome with my twin, which was gross and weird. He offered to buy both of us $600 designer bracelets if we did it. Sharing birthday gifts can suck as well. Do you cry if she cries in another state? Do you ever forget which twin you are? I want to see y'all fight. If I stab her, will you feel her pain? Which is the smart twin and which one is the dumb twin? Advantage is always having someone to go somewhere with, whether it be a party, lunch, shopping, wherever. In my high school there was an unusually high number of twins. As in, minimum 3 sets of twins per 90-person class. One class had 6 sets. A common prank was for twins to switch classes for a period or day. Most of the time the teachers caught them, they were very used to it, but there were 2 brothers that always got away with it. They were just too identical in looks, voice, and mannerisms. One of those guys had a crush on me, and to this day, I still don't know which one it was lol. All the twins got a special group photo in the yearbook every year, too. Edit, I'll address some common questions here. This was in poor, rural West Michigan. Very few folks in the whole county could afford IVF, so I don't think that's much of a factor. By 90-person class, I mean grade. Like 9th, 10th, 11th grade, etc. This was an average grade size for that high school, the biggest in the county. Again, rural Michigan. To the folks saying I should have given it a shot with one of the twins and taken that 50% chance of getting it right, you're giving a lot of credit to high school sassiest pants. I have a twin brother. The advantage is always having someone to talk to. No matter how good or shitty our days were, we're there for each other. I'm a twin. If you're reading this, twin brother, hi. Inside jokes. My twin brother and I have so many inside jokes even now at 30 years old. And the best part is our minds work alike, that we only have to say 1 or 2 words and the other one is busting up laughing. Our other brothers and each of our wives look at us like we're nuts, but most people don't get it. There's a connection there that normal siblings just can't have. He was my first roommate after all. My dad is friends with identical twins and he told me this funny story. He was with them at an open house for their aero club. My dad and the 2 twins are all pilots and were supporting the event. Someone was really curious and asked the twins if there was any truth to the stories about twin telepathy, where twins have some sort of psychic connection. They were both quiet for a few moments and it started to get uncomfortable. The man looked a little embarrassed and said something along the lines that he was just curious and it was a silly question. One of the twins looked him in the eyes and said, "Oh, it's not a problem, we were just discussing how we were going to answer." There was a moment of confusion on the man's face and the twins busted out laughing, saying they had been waiting for an opportunity to try that joke out. I make absolutely every mundane task into a two-man job if I can. No matter how easy it would be to do on my own, if I can rope my brother in, I do. Grocery shopping, dishes, mowing, cleaning, no matter the job, I ask that he pitches in or makes me pitch in if he started the job. I always include him with my friends and social obligations when possible. Same goes for him with me. I always include him in every co-op game when possible, we try to tackle every game together. I always seek his input on writing, on jokes, relationships, work, musical discoveries. The cumulative effect is, absolutely everything is easier. I always have someone in my corner, someone who cares. My best friend is always there for me and he brightens up every moment of my life. I could not ask for anything more. Love you, Jim. I was good friends with identical twins in college. My favorite story with them was one night at the bar. One of them was hooking up with a girl, and walked away to either go to the bathroom or get a drink or something. At that very moment, his brother showed up and walked into the bar, and the girl just grabbed him and started kissing him. The look of shock/happiness on his face was hilarious. I have a twin. I'm a woman, and he's a man, and by far the most common question I get if I tell someone I have a twin brother is, "Are you identical?" So, I'd say the greatest advantage is alerting me to people who don't think before they speak. No, really, now that we're adults, we are more like close siblings than anything, and we both lead lives in different professions in different states. But when we were kids, I would say the biggest advantage to having a twin is always having a friend and not being alone when the world is scary to a little kid. When I see friends posting pictures of little X's first day of preschool, my reaction is always, "Oh my God, you're sending that 3-year-old into the world alone?" And then I remember most of you poor sods had to do it all alone, even when it was scary, and it was so nice that we always knew we had a friend. We actually opted to be together in classes until 3rd grade despite protests from the school, after which we tried different classes, and from 6th grade we were in different schools altogether. So not like we were joined at the hip for life, just for those formative years. Twin here. This question's answers vary vastly based on if they're identical or fraternal. My twin brother and I are fraternal, so the main advantage was always having something to do with someone. We are very different personally, so it was more akin to a lifelong best friend than having a copy of myself walking around. English isn't my native language, so there may be mistakes. I feel like he understands me in a way no one does. I won't go talk to him about stuff as I would to my best friend, yet he always knows when I am upset and how to cheer me up and make me laugh. We have each other's backs no matter what, which really helped us cope with emotional abuse/neglect from our parents. We always had someone who gets and understands the other on a different level. Also kind of unrelated but is somehow, pre-COVID, me and my brother love movies. We used to go with friends to the premiere of any movie we thought we would like and be able to avoid spoilers and whatnot. One time my twin's friends cancelled on him last moment, so he went with me and it became a tradition. We love watching stuff together and nerding over movies. Identical twin here. Some twinisms that I have taken advantage of. One time I couldn't find my driver's license, so I used my identical twin brothers. Who would know better? In high school, my brother's girlfriend came up to me and started rubbing my back. Lucky for her, she figured it out in time. My twin and I did the same degree in college, so having a built-in study partner/group member was highly advantageous. Even our family has a hard time telling us apart on the phone, so it's easy to impersonate each other with or without caller ID. On the flip side, there are some caveats to being a twin in high school. My twin and I worked on a project for the same class completely independently of each other. However, the end products were so similar that the teacher made us redo the entire thing, despite absolutely zero collusion. My twin and I are extremely close and love being twins, it's all we know, but being referred to with each other constantly, e.g. the twins or the last_name twins, has in some ways amplified our want to have unique identities. Wouldn't trade being a twin for anything in the world, though. My twin brother and I grew up with a love of pranks and excellent poker faces. Hilarity ensued. We once convinced someone at school that we were cousins that happened to look alike. Looking back, he probably thought our dad was messing around. We convinced someone in college that we had never met before orientation and were randomly assigned to the same room, kinda similar to Parent Trap. We turned in each other's papers and sat in on classes when the other was sick for a year. I pretended to be my brother because I was too shy to admit we were twins. We'd meet up after classes and swap stories of how each other's friends were doing, and that's how we kept up with our friends at school until I finally broke the news in sophomore year. Damn, there are very few actually upvoted stories from first-hand twins. Some of them are just plain boring. This is probably too late. But here are some of mine. Grade school. I took science period 1 and my brother had it period 2. I took a test and at the end the teacher goes over the answers. I took the test, walked out of class, switched my sweater and walked back in to ace the test for my brother. Multiple times I've forgotten my ID for bars or WE. We regularly just had each other our IDs to get passes. It's come in handy when we were making films in HS. We utilized the ability to make it look like one person playing two people. I've switched classes in high school to ask a girl out for my brother. Didn't really work, and I was forced to take his class all week to convince the teacher we didn't switch. Had an ongoing bet with my physics teacher that we could switch on him without him noticing. If we succeeded, I would get an A on the final. So for months I would come in acting confused where I sat and kind of just made it seem normal. On the day we were taking the final, we switched. It's easy. Everyone is not interacting, it is face down looking at a scantron. He filled out the scantron with his name, and turned it in. Moments later I walked in being like, God damn it, you took my test. Got an A. Edit fun one for all. I literally have no clue which one I am regularly in old photos and videos. It could be the world's most dangerous drinking game. Old home videos and no one in the family knows and kinda just guesses until someone in the video shouts our name. Old photos I've gotten confused, even of me in high school. Probably not something talked about much. My brother did post a good story below, where my at the time fiancée got like creep pictures of my brother on a date. She thought she busted wide open a cheating scandal. You also get pretty lucky as far as healthcare. Turns out we got the same problems. So downsides? Our FICO reports have been a constant headache when buying houses. I have a twin brother, I'm a girl, and it sucked. We went to the same class for 8 years and shared the same bedroom, shared the same friends and were always compared. I always wished we were 1 year apart so that we didn't have to see each other 24 hours a day. When it's 2 boys or 2 girls it's different. Those 8 years were hell. He was always mean to me, hit me, wouldn't let me hang out with his friends even though we were all in the same class. We are 22 now. I don't think there is a single advantage in my case. That doesn't mean it's bad. We're grown up now. The problem was that they made us go to the same class and that made us grow apart. When you're forced to do something, you want to do that less. They shouldn't have forced us. It's hard to talk about taking advantage of being a twin because there aren't really opportunities to do that. I guess people think of the movies where you do pranks and trick people into thinking there is just one of you or something, but real life isn't really like that, since even identical twins always look distinguishable to people who know them. One cool thing about having a twin is you are in the same classes together, so if you are the irresponsible one and don't remember what the homework is, your twin probably remembers. Also, you can have a wider friend group. But that's all I can think of really. Not me. I have two female friends who are identical twins, legit no one can tell the difference between them. When twin 1 is asked a question and can't answer, twin 2 will say I'm twin 1 and twin 1 is twin 2 and vice versa. That's one of the many reasons why I always wanted to have a twin. My brothers are twins and the only thing I remember them talking about that they took advantage of is one twin would take spankings for the other twin. One of my brothers is a Marine, who's always been pretty tough I guess you'd say. And the other brother is a very feminine guy who gets very emotional and wouldn't take a punishment easily. He's gay, although I am not saying it's because he's gay that he's like that, it's just who he is. So basically, the first brother told me when we were kids he would always take spankings for his brother because getting spanked only hurt for a second and didn't really bother him, and it would save our weaker brother from having to endure something that would seriously affect him. I have twin siblings, and I just noticed that they think in very similar ways. One time when we were all in the car, my brother kept talking about graffiti but in a way that didn't make any sense. But my sister knew exactly what he meant, and he meant to be saying voodoo. No idea where they saw the connection between those words, but they both saw them. Was in Vegas with twins and one had her wallet stolen. How to get through TSA at the airport to get back home. I went through security with one twin, took her ID back out to the non-secure area, went back through security with twin 2. I have an identical twin brother. Basically anytime there's a 1 per person limit, I get a second time through with a different sweatshirt. If they say I've already gone through, I just say I have a twin brother and talk about how crazy it is that we both went through there without knowing it and show them a picture or two of us. Also a bonus for all places that give freebies for birthdays, I get 2 free items or orders if he's out of town or isn't planning on going to that place. I'm half of an identical twin. We never really did anything with this fact, but we agreed to not donate any organs or stuff in case the other one needs it, organs which you can donate and keep living. No search or waiting list for these kind of organs since I've got my twin. We also have other medical search advantages. Taught a set of triplets, 2 of which were identical. One was a jerk, literally stole a kid's money in front of his friends and walked off to buy ice cream with it. When caught out, he tried to claim his parents gave it to him when both his brothers denied getting any ice cream money. The other identical was as sweet as could be, very sensitive and always wanted to help. Nice triplet always got yelled at until someone figured out they got the wrong one. Poor kid always ended up crying over it, while his triplet shrugged and went off to go break rules in whatever area he hadn't been kicked out of. Not me, but my brothers. Not identical, but pretty close. Names changed to protect the guilty. When they were young, 16 or 17, Bob was out driving and got pulled over for speeding. He only had a couple points left on his license, so he said he forgot his license at home, and gave the cop Jack's name. Cop goes, pulls up the record, gives Jack his ticket and off they go. Being a good bro, Bob told Jack, and of course paid the ticket. Warned him he better be careful because now he only has a couple points left on his license too. Funniest part of the story. Bob is now a police officer. I have a fraternal twin sister, so we didn't have the opportunity to pull any pranks or switch identities or anything like that. The main advantage was that, since we are the same age, I always had an excuse to be around her friends and ended up dating her friend for a few years. When we were in high school, she would tell her parents that she was sleeping over at my sister's house, obviously also my house, so even though she was sleeping in my bed with me, she technically hadn't lied. Nothing shows how rare twins are like this post does. The only switch we ever pulled was senior year of high school. We were lined up for our senior yearbook photos and the administrator handed us each other's paperwork. We just glanced at each other and made the unspoken decision to not switch the papers back, and I took the yearbook photo under her name. It's not as good as taking tests for each other or anything, but at least our switcheroo is immortalized in print. Ultimately, it's so much easier to pretend to be the other person. Advantages my twin and my twin have done: I've used his driving license to drive. He has used my ID to get into clubs he was banned from. We can pick up each other's parcels and take each other's tests. When I got an injury during a sporting tournament, I'd sneak off, swap gear, and he would play for me. As we got older, we played pranks each other friends to see how long it would take for them to realize. Twin rivalry is a good excuse to fight a lot. Other than that, not much, because we are fraternal, not identical. I have an identical twin brother. It has its ups and downs. Most of the time when people find out, it's usually which one wins in a fight, or which one is the evil twin. Lol. Every single day when we meet someone new, it gets overwhelming sometimes when you're never treated as an individual. It's always the twins or blank and blank. We both served in the US Army at the same time, which made us more alike, with the same rank, same shaved head, same last name, etc. At one point we switched units during pre-deployment training for a few hours, on April 1st. It was a lot of fun and nobody even knew. Another fun time was when we get to team up, rather than compete like usual, on video games and such. On WoW, we were both tanking on a raid team and it felt really smooth. We really did have unparalleled chemistry for tank swapping and other mechanics. I wouldn't want it any other way. I have a twin sister and I like to say when I was your age and tell her what I did 11 minutes ago. I don't have a twin, but one time in elementary school these twins swapped classes for a day and no one noticed until they told the teachers. If I need a poop, but I'm busy, I send him instead. The only thing that's common for my twin brother and I is getting asked your name, right? So I explain it's like having an identity crisis your whole life. Lol. Actually, when the wife and I moved into our house, we met our new neighbors and one of them worked with my brother. She thought I was him until I introduced myself. But then she proceeded to tell him, I thought you moved in next to me, but I wondered how you gained weight since the last time I saw you. I laughed when he told me, but silently died inside. It's just fun to always have someone your age around and it never gets boring. It's like you were gifted a best friend for life. My grandfather was one of a set of twins, and they were both in the Navy together. Didn't get a chance to ask him because he died when I was young, but apparently he sucked at swimming and his brother didn't, so his brother would take his swim tests for him. I'm a fraternal boy-girl twin, so it's not really the same, but it's really awesome having someone there for you no matter what throughout life, because you're so much on the same page. More so than a regular sibling relationship, because our way of thinking is so aligned with one another's. Twin here. Both late 20s M. It sucks constantly being compared to someone for my whole life. We are opposites in almost every way. He is very emotionally sensitive and lashes out all the time about everything inconvenient. He is embarrassing a lot of time because he is so quick to take things to an extreme. I worry that anything he does will automatically be applied to how people view me. When I've fought for my whole life to not be like him. When people meet both of us for the first time, they always describe out loud how different we are. You're fatter in the face, you're taller, etc. It sucks because I'm by no means fat. I have an average build, although I'm about an inch taller than he is. He suffers from so much that he doesn't sleep or eat as much as I do, and I've casually worked out for the past 10 years and he really hasn't. So yeah, I get to be the fat but emotionally stable twin, and he gets to be shorter, unstable, thin twin. I haven't been able to rely on him for much of anything, as he normally literally crumples into a pile of hyperventilation on the floor any time one of our few remaining family members goes to the hospital in an ambulance. We were so remarkably different over the years that we have never really taken advantage of the fact that we look similar. Occasionally, someone who my brother has really wronged, with a public freakout, a direct insult, etc., will see me and confront me about his actions. Then I have to explain that I don't know what they're talking about, and the flimsy "oh, you must have met my twin" excuse doesn't usually cut it. Not a twin, but there was a pair of identical twins that used to try and cash each other's checks when I worked at the bank back in the day. I went on a couple of dates with one of them, but they were so creepily codependent it was off-putting. So far, we have always taken the same classes in college because we have each other to work in a study group and figure out the homework. We still have to do our own work though. More recently, we decided to be in the same group project for an engineering design class so we wouldn't have to worry as much about communication breakdown due to working virtually. We were planning to be in different groups when we started college, but that ain't gonna happen. Another benefit is working together on crafts like 3D printing and postcard making so we can get them done faster and give each other feedback. We're real partners in crime. Smile. This is probably super boring. I never really did anything crazy with my identical twin, but I always use it for the super annoying icebreakers where they ask tell everyone something interesting about yourself and it's always good. Our friends learned very quickly that we could not be on the same Pictionary team. One would draw a line and the other would guess the correct thing. I'm a man, I have a female twin sister. When I was a younger I would get all the ladies' data, who liked me or didn't, and blah blah. She is a great wing woman, got me laid a lot. My twin brother got recruited to play college baseball. They had no idea he had a twin until a week before the visit. They said, why don't you bring him on the visit? Ended up getting a scholarship to play there as well. I mean, this isn't a way I took advantage of it, but rather my twin. We were in high school and he really liked to run his mouth off to people, right? A real dick swinger. So this one day he does it to quite possibly the biggest dude in school because fuck it, why not? And then leaves for class. Well, the dude didn't like that, so he runs after my brother. Well, coincidentally we pass each other on our way to class, so I am now going towards said big guy. I come around the corner and this guy's just uppercuts me to the stomach. I drop completely winded and the guy thinks he just got his revenge. Well, later in the office he finds out it's not my brother and his excuse for hitting me was, I thought it was his twin. And for some reason this just clears it up and he doesn't even get reprimanded. Don't worry, I got my brother back for that one. Not a twin, but I dated the evil twin. Found out much later that his brother he didn't like talking about was truly a nice man, and the narcissist was crazy jealous, and sometimes just regular crazy. It was after about a year of him gaslighting and controlling me when I met the good twin, and he informed me that his brother was known to be horrible to his partners, and that if I was smart I'd leave. I eventually got smart. Edit, a typo. When we were little we couldn't climb up onto the couch, so I laid my head on the floor and said, Hubuther, step on my head. So that became a thing for just a short time. I'm married to an identical twin. When my husband's brother comes over to help with any house projects, they work amazingly well together without needing to talk much. One time my next door neighbor stared at them through the fence for a solid half hour while they worked on putting together a trampoline. He said he had never seen something so mesmerizing. They put together something they never had before without saying more than 2 words to each other. He compared it to watching synchronized swimmers. I ate my twin in the womb, doubling my nutrients. Super naughty, but if we had a history test covering 2 chapters, I would read one chapter and he would read the other chapter. In the middle of the test, I would get up to sharpen my pencil, and he would go ask the teacher a question, and we would then sit at the other's desk and complete the test. We are identical and the teacher couldn't tell us apart, so we never got busted. We both for 5s on the AP test, so it obviously didn't affect our learning too much. And no, we didn't do this on the AP test. I once got lost at the beach. Mom took my twin and walked around asking people if they saw someone who looks just like her. I believe my parents are the ones who took advantage of the twins thing. Always getting discounts and such. Fun fact, for some reason people are impressed by identical twins. They'll usually hand out candies and stuff just cause we looked so cute in our matching outfits. My twin brother posed for both of us in our college yearbook photos. My twin and I went to the same college, and our senior year, I was doing a co-op program, where you work in a job relevant to your major for part of the year, as a way to get real-world learning while in school, and get paid. My job was Indianapolis and school was in Chicago, so at the time I lived about 3 hours away. The school emailed me to set up time to take my photo for the yearbook, and all the times were weekdays in the middle of the day, within the next few weeks. In the co-op I work a standard 40-hour work week, and I'm not wasting a vacation day and driving 6 hours round trip just to get a yearbook photo taken. Thankfully I just called my brother, a.k.a. stunt double, who was back at school, and asked him to do it for me. He tried a little to look more like me, wearing clothes that I'd wear, making his hair/facial hair a bit more like mine, but being an identical twin did most of the heavy lifting. P.S. Ironically, 1 year in high school, this also happened by accident. I got retakes, and they put my original photos next to my name and my retakes next to my brother's. I guess things even out. Smile. My twin brother and I went to the same college. Because he had taken a year off between high school and college, I graduated a year before him. I walked in May but technically had an elective, film studies, I needed to complete. Problem is I lived out of state. I would pay him to go to my class and sit there and watch movies essentially. An advantage is being the middle child, embracing the middle child syndrome. 1 minute apart and I was never treated the same, or with the same tone as my twin. I wasn't babied at all, so gave me room to grow. Identical twin here. My sister and I look exactly alike. In my early 20s I was a total idiot and fuck up and drug addict. Once, I got pulled over for not wearing my seatbelt. I knew I had a warrant out for my arrest, so I told the cop I was her and went along my merry way since our photos looked the same and I knew her SS number. Because I wasn't a total dummy, I signed the ticket with my own name and not hers. Fast forward a few years later, I got sober but never paid the seatbelt ticket. She actually went to jail for a few hours for it. When we went to court for the matter, together, I played dumb like the officer had made a big mistake because the ticket was obviously signed with my name and not hers. The judge had no idea what to do and said it was an unprecedented situation. He let us both leave with no repercussions. I'm almost 6 years off the drugs now and my sister and I work in an office together, lift weights together, and talk all day every day. Being a twin rules. Freshman year of high school we switched places in the yearbook, nobody noticed. Once my twin got into a fender bender and realized her license wasn't in her purse. I was only about 5 minutes away, so I drove up there and gave her mine. Nobody was the wiser. Realized afterwards that it was a stupid and unnecessary thing to do and the insurance was confusing because they would call me and I would run the phone to her because I couldn't answer all their questions. Wish I could say that was the last time I've had to give her my license but it's not. She's so forgetful. My twin sister and I are best friends now. We were close as children and then grew apart in middle school when we were trying to carve out our own identities. It didn't help that we were both competitive and angry about sharing literally everything from a bedroom to all our friends. I remember throwing a fit in 8th grade because my twin wanted to wear the same Bath & Body Works cherry blossom fragrance because by God, that was my scent. Eventually, we got over our intense rivalry and became close again. It's a level of familiarity that I don't have with anyone else on the planet because we have the same personality quirks. We don't exactly have telepathy or anything, but when we talk on the phone, I immediately know what she's feeling based on the subtle way she says hello. We entered this world together and I can't imagine my life without my womb mate. Note to twin girl parents, do not compare your children and for the love of God, don't dress them like the fucking Olsen twins. The number of times I've been asked did you ever switch places? Is probably in the hundreds. I haven't. Would have been funny though. We are really good friends, super similar obviously. Same sense of humor so we always find the same things funny. If I think something is hilarious I know he will too. If I have a thought in my head, I know he's thinking the same thing. We went into same career path, so we get to talk about that. And we have all the same friends. It also made making friends very easy because hanging out as 3 is a lot more dynamic and fun than just 2 people, one-on-one. And I got to do everything growing up with him. I'm really lucky. Love him so much. Only downside is I'm terrified of anything happening to him, or if he struggles with anything, or has to suffer, it would hurt so much. Or if he died. Would be unreal. But that's not really a downside now I think about it. Not a twin, but I look a lot like my brother. My probation officer saw me outside when I wasn't supposed to be. I quickly went in before he got out of the car and switched clothes with my brother in like 10 seconds, and sent him outside to pretend it was him. Worked like a charm and saved myself a trip to jail. My twin brother is into buying nice fashionable clothes. I'm not. They eventually end up in my wardrobe when he gets new stuff, same size fits all. We could also pool resources and buy friends/family much bigger gifts at Christmas than a normal present from the both of us. We worked in the same restaurant for a long time and would constantly send each other in to do each other's shifts if we needed a day off. Basically decided our own timetable to an extent. Boss didn't care as long as one of us showed up. As kids we would have a long pre-arranged list of numbers in our heads if someone asked about twin telepathy. Twin telepathy? Never heard of it. Maybe if I say a number in your ear and you ask my brother what it was. Never really worked. When we went to different universities, in the same city, it was nearly the first time we had significant different groups of friends. Having a classmate ask me why did you ignore me on the street the other day? Became a regular occurrence. No pranks or anything, just mundane utilitarian things. I'm an identical twin. I have a few. I got my driver's license first and my twin took my license and took car for a spin before she had her license. Nothing bad happened and she got her license a month later. Also I am better in math than my twin, so I took a couple math tests for her in high school and one in college. My fee was her making my lunch for a month. Now that we are older, main benefits are medical. Like when I needed glasses, she knew she'd need them soon. We both had similar issues with pregnancy and delivery, that kind of thing. It's a nice heads up for what to expect. Smile. My ex-wife's twin tried to prank me by getting in bed with me. I got handsy and everything. She didn't say a word. It was only when I ran my hands through her hair that I noticed it wasn't the right length. We all had a good laugh, and I got to feel up my wife's equally hot twin. My twin and I were able to get our parents back together by switching places with each other at summer camp. I'm a fraternal twin. I'm a dude and my twin is my sister. I was asked if I ever feel what she's feeling. I responded, sometimes, I'll just be relaxing, doing nothing, and I'll feel a strange pressure inside my body. Then I'll realize that my twin must be on a Tinder date. I met a set of twins who joined the army together and got immediately reassigned to the Secret Service. Their job was to travel with dignitaries, and the dignitaries' body doubles, and simply be seen in public in various locations, to fake out would-be assassins. They spent their entire Ramy hitch traveling around the world, staying in the best hotels, with their only duty walking in front of press with either dignitaries or their doubles. I'm F with a twin brother. I called him my built-in best friend. I guess I took advantage by learning to be comfortable around a more masculine point of view. Guys aren't a mystery. All my dating relationships were really positive and healthy, with smart, funny guys. I'm married now and he's very different from my brother, but it's so easy and comfortable for me to talk to him and listen to a different point of view. Growing up you always had someone to study with for classes. And always had someone to play video games or build Lego together. Mainly playing in bands really helped. I played guitar and he played drums. We synced together really well and were able to write some cool stuff together. Being a twin is awesome because you'll forever have their back and they'll always do the same for you. Also it was easy to confront other people about grievances because of the amount of times you confronted each other. Well, we were able to share clothes. Granted, I'm a 6 feet 3 inches man and she's a 5 feet 6 inches woman, but hey, a nice dress is a nice dress. A bit morbid, but because my identical twin brother works as a nurse practitioner, he is considered an essential, frontline worker and, thus, has already been vaccinated against COVID-19. I guess I had the advantage to wait to see if there would be any adverse effects, none, from the vaccine. Sure, epigenetics and mutations, but by and large we have a very good biological model in the other. Well, I didn't benefit, but my brother did. When we were taking tests to get into college, my brother had gotten a terrible cold and we couldn't reschedule. So I grabbed his ID and took them for him. I made sure his were slightly lower than mine. Also, whenever one of us becomes friends with someone, they usually unknowingly become friends with us both. I'm a girl and have a twin brother, so I consider myself very lucky to have grown up being able to do traditionally boy things or play with a lot of boy toys just due to accessibility. He'd play with a lot of my girly toys too. I have a lot of good memories attending his Boy Scouts meetings with him. However, I also remember being very confused when I wasn't allowed to attend overnight camping trips with the Scouts. Skeptical. I didn't really understand how I differed from the rest of them, especially considering I went to all the meetings. Was still a child at that point. Not me, but my sisters, who are identical twins. Twin A was meant to go abroad on holiday. Come 4 to 5 hours before her flight and she realizes that her passport had expired. She quickly phoned the airline and requested that the name on the tickets be transferred to Twin B, under the pretense that she, A, is sick and is too ill to fly. She then grabbed Twin B's passport, and enjoyed her holiday while impersonating B wherever ID was needed. Not identical, but I'm a minute older. I'll usually hit her with, "When I was your age, I was underscore and insert whatever I was doing a minute ago." Me and my twin sister decided we would try to swap places when she was having sex with her boyfriend to see if he would notice. She excused herself to go use the toilet, and that was when I was to go in and switch places. He knew straight away that it was me. My beard and penis gave the game away, I think. I'm a twin but not identical. Still, the best advantage I've gotten is having someone I could always talk to about anything, and who would tell me like it is and put me in my place when I needed it. Obviously I would hate it when we were young, lol. Looking back, it really means so much too. In high school we would take the same classes but at different class periods. So he could tell me what was on the test I'd take after lunch, I'd tell him the key to the lab experiment, etc. Also made homework easy since we could pretty much do half, paraphrase the second half. As adults, airline staff seems to love twins. Lots of free bags, some waived fees, etc. Always made picking a best friend easy. When you grow up with someone who is you in almost every way, you always have someone who will understand you. I know some twins aren't close, so I count my blessings knowing that my sister and I have that twin bond. Not going to be much of a surprise, but I'm going to ask her to be my maid of honor tomorrow. One year in middle school, I ran the mile for my twin sister in gym class. She didn't want to run and I didn't mind going again. We swapped outfits after my first mile and I went back out pretending to be her. I remember worrying that the gym teacher would notice and we would get in trouble, but they never noticed. Also, borrowing anything from her closet is always nice. Triplet here, we used to stack on top of each other to get things on high shelves as kids. Identical twin here. To be honest, I wish I'd done more with it growing up, but it has come in handy. For example, when visiting my brother at his college, I got approached by a random guy at a bar/party who asked if I was ready for the drink he owed me. Yes, please. On the subject of parties, one downside of being a twin that I haven't seen mentioned is the weird near out-of-body experience of seeing your twin looking like a fool as they're busting moves on the dance floor and thinking to yourself, "Oh God, is that what I look like?" It genuinely makes me so self-conscious / is an absolute vibe killer. She's a reference point for how dumb I look when my mouth is open. My wife has a twin sister and they told me one day they used to cover for each other when they were in high school. No shit, their inspiration for their antics, Phil and Lil from Rugrats. They would coordinate outfits cause they wanted to take cute photos together. Like they no shit were employed by the same Quiznos, but there was only one of them. They did this for a fucking year. Parents didn't want them working while in high school, so they would pose as each other in track and cross country while the other fucking worked. The jig was up, and near the end of the year, senior year of all, the track team gave them both a Letterman jacket. They were so legit about it they never competed as one or the other. One was employed so they couldn't do track, and the other was in track so she couldn't work. High school coach swept it under the rug. Their senior year they didn't have afternoon classes, so this is where they met for lunch and briefed each other on their morning and what to expect that afternoon. How did they get caught, you asked? One of the female coaches overheard conversation and led to her asking my wife if she's told her parents she's been on her period for more than 2 weeks. Phone calls were made, and as soon as her mom was told about this, it all made sense in her head. They were gone at the same time schedule. They were busted. And for the record, I can tell which sister is my wife, cause once I say it's banana time, my wife turns smooth brain and returns to her Rugrats days and can't help but start a slow smirk and then a smile, and I yell gotcha bitch, she starts laughing uncontrollably. I love my wife and I would never call her this in anger, we're just that freaking close, so people don't think I'm being a dick. It's the way I say it that get her rolling. My twin brother and I didn't take advantage nearly as much as we should have. Mostly we just got small laughs staying mum while people mistook us for the other one, until they'd eventually figure it out. The one time we planned a switcheroo was on April Fool's in the 5th grade, but his teacher spotted me right away because the kids couldn't stop looking and giggling. She was nice about it though and let me stay until midday. When my brother was finally discovered, it took my teacher a while to notice, even though my brother had a short rat tail of hair he'd grown above the nape of his neck. He'd managed to keep it tucked into his collar for several hours, but by midday my teacher took notice and let him know it by loudly snipping scissors in front of his desk. He ran back to his classroom to announce the jig was up. Everyone had a good laugh over it. To be honest, it's just awesome to have someone your same age, and in my case, we both had the same hobbies and interests. It's basically living with your best friend. I'm a twin. Very nice to have a built-in best friend. Also has helped with homework, since we mostly take the same classes. I am fraternal. I am skinny and he is heavy. We don't even look like neighbors, let alone twins. My twin and I are super codependent. So an on-call therapist is always nice. Also she can always tell a funny joke or cheer me up. And she always come through in an emergency. We also do this thing called twin request. It's the highest level of ask. If your twin asks with a twin request, you have to do whatever chore/task needed. Our sister is the best person ever and she does all this shit too. Dad of twins here, just here researching to see what kind of BS mine will try to pull, lol. I'm an identical twin. It's always interesting to me how people think there are all these advantages to being a twin. Normally I just think of her as my sister, and it is true we're closer than most siblings, but there aren't these crazy advantages that people think there are. I wouldn't trade being a twin for anything, but people never realize the disadvantages. Growing up, no one could ever tell us apart, so we never got our own identities. We were always the twins or the girls, and people in school just used our last name because they didn't know which one we were. It's hard to have anything that is truly your own because so many things are just easier shared. Birthday parties, trips, school things, even our car growing up. So we actively avoided switching places or dressing alike or doing anything that would further impede our own individualism. When we go places now, we still look enough alike that strangers constantly comment on it. Sometimes you get sick of being a peculiarity and just want to fly under the radar, but when you look exactly like the person walking next to you, it's hard to blend into a crowd. And I don't hold this against my twin, it's more the people who feel they have to draw attention to it. And then answering the same questions all the time. Are you twins? What's it like being a twin? I bet it's fun. It's especially jarring when we're just minding our own business and a stranger comes up and starts asking questions like that, and we're in our 30s now, so it's weird being asked these childish questions out of nowhere. I've started just telling them I don't know any different, so I can't really answer how fun or different it is. It's pretty entertaining to see that realization dawn on them. They always see it as a cool, unique thing, but for us, that's just our life and it's never been different for us. But to answer your question, it is nice to see what clothes would look like on me without trying them on, see how hairstyles would look, always have someone who understands me 100%. I went to Las Vegas with my identical twin brother a few years ago, and the Cosmopolitan offered day passes to one of their swanky spas. We just bought one pass and went at separate times using the same ID. Works like a charm. I am a fraternal twin, so we couldn't switcheroo, he's a dude and I'm a chick, so. But we definitely had our own twin way of speaking / made up words that the other one knew instantly what it meant. The advantage of having an opposite sex twin is that if you're both straight, you can ask the other one for dating advice. Instant perspective on how the opposite sex is thinking. Because my twin brother and I are so close, though, people commonly think we're dating. It was a little bit annoying to have to explain that no, we're not a couple, we're twins. My twin and I always got caught when we tried to switch classes in high school. It's a lot harder for brother/sister twins. One time in middle school my sister and I tried to switch classes and it would have worked if one person hadn't called me out in her math class. We didn't make it to my band class / her orchestra class. I play clarinet and she played violin, where we would have been caught for sure. I wouldn't say there are any big advantages. I became quite similar to my brother, and I can talk to him about basically anything. So that's pretty neat, but sometimes being so close to someone so much like me can start to wear on me. When we were in 4th grade, me and my twin sister changed places twice. We both went to the other's classrooms for a whole day. First time it was funny, second time didn't go as well lol. We also occasionally borrow each other's licenses. It's pretty convenient sometimes to just pretend to be the other person. She's attended classes for me in uni, and though we've never done this because there's no point, I'm sure we can get away with taking exams for one another. That's about it though. We're just normal siblings for the most part. If anything, what we took advantage of the most was just being there for one another when we needed it. We've been best friends our whole life, it's a special kind of bond. Edit, spelling. I have a twin sister. We went to the same school, different classes. Sometimes we would want to repeat a class because we felt it necessary for a recap, and so would just swap with each other as our schedules were different. For example, if my sister wanted to repeat a language class, she would check with me on my schedule and I would allow her to use my language lesson if I felt I didn't need it. Or if I didn't feel like doing P that day, my sister wouldn't mind putting on her sport clothes and pretending to be me. It was quite handy, like a get out of jail free card. The best scenario was if one of us was late to show up to a meeting. One time I had to present to be her for one of her society meetings in university as she was out of town and forgot about it. She just briefed me on what to do and it went so well it was hilarious. You can feel like a double agent. I have sent my twin to the bank for me before. But the most fun was when I worked at an amusement park. She used my work pass to go to the park on my day off. Wasn't ideal though because we wanted to go together. I have two sisters and they are twins. I'm the oldest minus 19, they are 17. One of them had bought new clothes. She showed the clothes to her twin, which asked, "Do we fit in those pants?" Clothes sharing is always nice, smiley face. My twin and I used to switch classes in elementary school. By about 4th grade, though, the teachers started threatening us with detention if we weren't in the right class. So, with real consequences looming, we decided to pretend like we'd switched, exaggeratedly asking what was being taught that day, and pretending not to know our classmates. Technically, we hadn't switched classes, so we couldn't get in trouble, but the teachers were confused and furious. Worth it. Not me, but my girlfriend is an identical twin, both played college basketball. While her twin sister had stopped playing and graduated, putting on additional weight from not being as active, my girlfriend continued playing and was pretty fit. Early on when we met, she had sent me a before and after photo of her after losing a bunch of weight. In actuality her sister had come to visit and they put on workout clothes and took selfies in the mirror and then switched clothes. It was very convincing. Haha, they did it because they thought it would be funny and I thought it was hilarious and a unique prank that only identical twins can pull off. I have a twin sister, we're fraternal, and the best advantage is just always having a friend to talk to or hang out with. We don't have our own language, but sometimes we just look at each other and laugh and we both know what the other is thinking. Switching classes in grade school. It was such a hoot. We did it countless times, but the one that stands out was senior year of high school. Both of our classes just so happened to be in the library at the same time, so we did the obvious thing, switch places. I go back to his classroom with his teacher and classmates, which is filled with friends that are in on the twin swap. This is when I found out that the class was being graded on oral presentations that day. Basically each student had to stand up and recite some poem from memory that was relevant to the class somehow at the time. Obviously I had nothing memorized, and it turns out my twin didn't either, so it really didn't matter how it went. So when it was my twin's turn to go, I stood up at my desk and sang Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. I played the song on my phone so I could sing along and everyone would get the reference. I started it right as Roger Waters says hello, and sang all the way through the first chorus. By the time I finished, the class was an absolute riot. Heck, even the teacher seemed to enjoy it. I wound up getting a 41/100ths on the oral presentation. A friend of ours tried to recite the actual poem and got a 31/100ths. Although he butchered it pretty bad, there's no way that could possibly be a fair grade. I guess even the ringmaster's eyes twinkle when the circus is in town. This may get lost in the 1000s of responses, but it was so special, and something I didn't realize until late in my adult life. We always had a built-in best friend. I never had to worry about having someone to sit with me in the lunchroom, never stressed about attending a new school. Going to summer camp or a new environment wasn't as stressful as so many introverted children, and we are both introverts. We are both on the autism spectrum but never got diagnosed as children. We were each other's coping mechanisms. Having a connection with each other hid the fact we weren't great at social norms with others. We always had someone to do schoolwork with and excelled academically by helping each other. Looking back, we had more confidence than many of our peers. We had security in each other. To this day we've never replicated the connection we have with other people, though we both have happy, fulfilling marriages with amazing partners. The advantage is someone who absolutely understands you and what that does for your confidence, psyche, and perseverance in life. In kindergarten, me and my twin sister switched places for the day, and if we didn't go to our babysitters and brag about pulling it off, we won't have gotten away with it. And also this year marks the first time I remember my mom mixing us up. I've had a best friend and am pretty sure will always be. We used each other's college IDs to get into our respective campus gyms back in the day. She borrowed my actual ID a couple times to drive if hers was at work. We only need one ID to get into a bar, back before COVID. Switched classes sometimes for fun in high school, though never on test day. Always fun to see people freak out when we are together. Sometimes we switch birthdays. People always be live. I had a speech impediment when I was younger, before starting speech therapy for 5 years, and my twin helped translate for me. I have a twin brother. I was good in math, he was good in literature. At school, we would sometimes switch places and take each other's exams. Lost my virginity sooner than most of my friends. I have a twin bro. When we started at a new high school, it was so nice knowing someone. Made the transition 1000x easier. Love you, John. Less than 3. There was a girl in my secondary school whose identical twin sister went to different school. They decided to do a switch one day with the support of their friends, and it would have gone really well if they decided to tell each other their computer logins for their IT lessons. Crying face, they were caught by lunchtime, but naturally, the whole school knew by first period anyway. My brother and I are mirror image twins. We run a screen printing and embroidery business together, so we always take each other's meetings and the customer never knows. One of the funniest memories I have of the advantages of being a twin was when I used his passport to travel to Mexico because I had misplaced mine, smiley face. My identical twin tested me out of college math, and I have used his license when mine got suspended. 2 years ago, my twin brother and I would go to the same coffee shops and restaurants with our girlfriends, but at separate times. On multiple occasions, they would tell our girlfriends that we were mansluts because we come here with different girls, smiley face. My twin brother and I are relatively alike, I guess, in some aspects. I like Harry Potter and he dislikes it, and he likes sport and I refuse to go outside. Also, we look the same. I mean, I personally think we don't, but whatever. Last year I did something stupid and by accident I kinda set a light to an abandoned shed. It was small and there was nothing inside except from maybe equipment. I didn't hurt anyone or anything. But the neighbor to where the shed was saw me or saw my face, but when it came to saying who did it, because my brother was the troublesome one, and as soon as she saw him, she immediately pointed the finger at him. My parents didn't think too much about it and apologized, paid for damages and so on, and still believe it was him. Of course they were angry at the time and grounded him for a few weeks or days, I think, but they fully believed it was him. However, for my brother, he was very confused, but he had his suspicions and he knew it was me. I asked why he didn't say or argue that it wasn't him, but he just said that we were brothers and we do anything for each other. I helped him with chores and such for the days when he was grounded, and TBH, I think what happened made us kinda closer as twins. I also blurted out by accident on the true story to my parents one time, and they kinda just laughed and apologized to my brother, told me off for lying for a bit, and now it's just a story which my parents tell people at parties. Cryptophasia. You can talk to each other and no one knows what you are talking about. We could live in our own little twin world. Also, it's having a forever best friend who understands you more than anyone else in the whole world. Not advantage, but my twin brother needed a kidney transplant, so I gave him mine. But unfortunately he died in a car accident a year later. I am a fraternal twin, specifically I am male and she is female. You can have fraternal FF and MM twins as well, but we are MF. I get the question all the time about telepathy or who is the evil twin. I usually make some joke about it and move on. The point is, depending on who is asking, some people are really interested in asking these questions. One time, one of my co-workers was really interested in asking some questions after I made a comment about my twin sister. His first question: are you an identical twin? Now, believe it or not, this is a very common question. I used to be less polite with my answer, but now as I've gotten older and have had older, more educated, etc., not school-aged kids, asking this question, I'm very polite about it. I don't want them to think they are stupid for not knowing. Anyway, before I could answer, my other co-worker chimed in and exclaims, you can't have an identical twin, be both male and female, you dummy. Or something to that extent. This didn't sit well with the inquiring co-worker. To be fair, he was known for believing in flat earth for a few weeks, for religious reasons, and other conspiracy-type beliefs. He was often verbally combative with other people in the office about some of these subjects, and would get into it. We were an office of about 20 people. Anyway, he chose this subject of identical male/female twins and was willing to argue to the death over this. And justify to my other co-worker that this was not a dumb question. At this point, I just walk away. Found out later, he found out about monozygotic twins of differing sexes, which is extremely rare, and so much so that couples will just assume they have fraternal twins. As a twin I should probably understand better, but I believe this condition occurs when a single fertilized egg starts to split into identical twins, but only at the split the Y chromosome goes to one, and an 20 chromosome goes to the other. Anyway, I believe he walked away pretty satisfied with himself and his question if I was an identical and fraternal twin. And to be fair, there's no way to know. He could be correct. Made my identical twin brother take a drug test for me when we were in high school.